What is it?
It's me, Dave. Open up, man. I got the stuff.
What is it?
It's me, Dave, man. Open up. I got the stuff.
Who?
It's Dave, man. Open up. I get the boss. Sorry, come in here.
What is it?
It's Dave, man. Will you open up? I got the stuff with me.
Who?
Dave, man. Open up.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave. Come on, man. Open up. I think the boss.
Dave's not here.
No, man. I'm Dave, man. Come on, man.
What is it?
It's Dave, man. Will you open up? I got the stuff with
Who?
me. Dave, man. Open up.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave.
Dave's not here.
No, man. I am Dave, man. Will you come on? Open up the door, will you? I got the stuff with me. I think the cops saw
What is it?
Open up the door. It's Dave.
Who?
Dave. D-A-V-E. Will you open up the goddamn
Dave?
door? Yeah, Dave.
Dave?
Right, man. Dave. Now, will you open up the door?
Dave's not here.
Oh.
All right, so we're going to do a weird podcast this morning here with an anonymous guy. He's a friend of mine, met a couple years back, and he's a guy who has a vast knowledge of pot, and then like just some like regular knowledge. Like you have been a smoker since it's 14 years old. I haven't, so and I don't have a stigma about it or anything like that. I would gladly do it if I found the time to do it. My issue is I know I'm not functional when I do it, so I can't, with the real estate broker job, I can't do it. I can't be like, on a Wednesday afternoon, get a little bit high and then like just do my job. It doesn't work out. Right now I've got 2 deals in progress and I've got 2 other clients that I'm looking for, and at any time that shit could pop up and then I gotta talk and I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot all of a sudden. So I just stay away from it. Now I enjoy a glass of wine. I enjoy beers, whiskey, all that other stuff, and I don't even mess with that. Like even like I'm not like I'll go day drink if I know that I don't have anything going on. So like I'm cool to go have a couple beers, and even then, I have a couple drinks and that's it. Like I don't ever get bombed. But but you're a guy that can function just fine, no problem.
Yeah. Now there's a limit. I mean.
Oh yeah, right. You can't launch off it, right?
Right.
Now I've had experiences where people drop me off edibles and stuff like that, and guy dropped me off like homemade edible stuff, which it was terrific, like as far as that goes, but I don't think it's mixed with a consistency that you know what you're getting.
No, especially homemade.
Right. And I took a chunk like about the size the guy told me to take, and holy shit, I was tripping. I went psychedelic completely. I was like on the bed and literally felt, and this is something that you couldn't even explain, I felt the color green oozing from my body like everywhere. I was like, I was rocked. I want to say maybe like 30 hours later, I'm still stoned. Wow. I cannot believe what I did. And then like I didn't touch that stuff again. Because I can't, be out of commission like that. But now, was it fun? Yeah, I felt pretty damn good. I was like, it was exactly cool and I liked it. And my problem is, so it's brand new legal in Illinois, right? So, but every work has got a different, that's part of the reason that we're staying anonymous. Like, I don't want to have any issues or repercussions for having a conversation about something that is legal, is probably, in my mind, less harmful physically to you than alcohol is.
I would agree.
Right. I mean, the times that I have, besides that one time where I'll bet you I took 4 times as much as I should have. Like, it was off the charts a lot. And I mean, even then, 2 days later, I was fine. Like I was, it was whatever. If I would have drank 4 times too much alcohol,
you'd be in
the hospital, and then probably hurting for a week after that, like just dying.
Oh, right.
If I go out and have more than a couple of beers, I definitely can be like, I drank yesterday for sure. Like, I know I did. There's been days where we've like, met up for people for lunch, and then lunch turned into 9:30 at night. We were done. So I had 7, 8 drinks during that, 8 or 9 hours. And I definitely did not feel well the next day, as far as like stomach hurts a little bit, head hurts a little bit. But the couple times that I've been out somewhere where it's 10 o'clock at night, I've got a bunch of people out for a party on the lake here, and someone's got a vape pen, and I take a tug off of that. I feel pretty good while we're hanging out and everything else. It's fine because it's 10, 11 at night. Nobody's going to call me. If they do, I got an excuse. I can call you back tomorrow morning. I would wake up the very next day feeling like I didn't do anything. Like I didn't, like perfect. Like I'm like, wow. I got good. I mean, I was stoned and I was totally straight the next day.
Not the lag and
Nope, nothing at all. I didn't even feel like I was dragging. I mean, I got right up and gone. And I'm like, I have run across people that they're waking bakers. They get up in the morning. They work at an office job. So they're right around people. They get up, smoke a little pop a couple mints, head off to work. And I'm like, wow. Now they must know, and you tell me, they must know where like launch off point is, where they can like, all right, I can handle this much.
Right. There's definitely that line.
Right.
I mean, depending on what I'm going to be doing, like if my job allowed it to an extent, I would probably be more inclined, but
right. Now I don't want to talk about where you work, but where you work, what is the policy?
Zero.
Can't do any.
Right. Now if it's not termination,
okay.
If something happens, basically they'll put you in a program. You go on medical leave and you got to go through a rehab
The policy changed once it became legal in Illinois, or no?
No, it's been like that since I know. I've known people. I mean, whether it's alcohol, pills, pot. I mean, whatever heroin. You'd be surprised.
Sure.
You go in there. I have a problem. Okay, so now they'll help you. Quote unquote, help you with your weed addiction.
Yeah, right. It's not.
Which is right.
Right. There's no. But
there
is no.
You keep your job.
Right. From my understanding, and I mean, I've heard about it and read some about it. Something like that. When it first was going to become legal in Illinois, I was like, I'm interested in finding out. And my concern really is I have read things that say, as a young person, you should avoid it. As far as like, I don't want my boys really messing with that till they're in their 20s. Sort of thing. Now, and I have had conversations with my sons like, listen, health-wise, if you're a person that wants to go out and drink 6 or 8 beers a night, when you're young, that was pretty much my life, right? And we had a bar night every week, and we were 6 or 8 beers every night. Like that was pretty much. And we bounced right back and went to work and all that other stuff. But that's what we did. And I know plenty of people that leave work at 3 in the afternoon. They're trades guys. And they're, in the tavern at 3:30, 4 o'clock. They drink all evening, get their dinner at the tavern, and, that's their lifestyle. As far as, and I have no problem with that either. That's what they really enjoy doing. That's how they're social. That's how they see people. That's how they, interact with people. But some of those same people feel like if you came home from work, took a shower, did whatever you did, and then you got a little bit high and hang out and watch TV, you're somehow doing something different than what they're doing. And I don't understand how it's different.
Yeah, that's one of the things I have the biggest problem with. I've known people with numerous DUIs.
Yeah, right.
Now, I have a family member that was killed by a drunk driver.
Right.
That's a sore subject with me.
Sure.
And those are one of the most judgmental people when it
Right.
comes to, and I'm thinking, I don't know anybody that gets stoned and go drives around and kill somebody.
Sure.
Like you don't go to a pot bar or
Right.
whatever it is,
Right. Okay, so, I'll go to town here with Tony, a buddy of mine, and have some beers in the afternoon. And I'm not a big drinker either. So like, if once a month, like I go up and do that, then that may be the extent of my drinking for the month. In the summertime, I don't mind coming home from work and then having a beer with dinner. Like that's how I roll. So, but I'm not a big drinker, and I'm still not somebody who's like passing any judgment as far as that goes. Like I don't have a care in the world. I have like a libertarian thing with me where I'm like, I think that all of the drugs should be decriminalized. So it seems stupid to me that if you did have a not air quotes problem. Like if you've got someone that's on heroin, or if you got someone that's, addicted to cocaine or anything like that, if you're a meth head, speed freak, whatever's going on, throwing cuffs on you and giving you legal problems on top of your other problems is stupid. Like that's a dumb way of handling
No
this
way is
situation.
it gonna fix
Right.
it.
No, for sure not. You're already trying to escape whatever life you've got by getting this other drug in you. Why would giving you $10,000 worth of fines and possible jail time help you cure this situation? You're not. It almost seems like a revenue stream for the municipality. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, look, we've caught this kid with cocaine. We're going to bust him. He's going to, it's going to cost him 20 grand to get out of this trouble. So, but it's not helping the problem. So if you decriminalize, and when I say decriminalize for people out there, I don't mean make it that we can all go everywhere and snort cocaine. I mean that you just can't be prosecuted criminally for it. You are helped then with everything. I think marijuana is in a whole other category because we were talking before the podcast. I know people that I think should smoke pot. And I mean, I'd almost want to do a podcast like this, and I'm not a smoker, an advertisement of some people need to take the fucking edge off and not be a dick.
Exactly.
Like, dude, why are, I mean, I got friends of mine that I look at him and I'm like, you're a white guy with a good job. You do well. You're remotely attractive. Whatever you got going on, you weren't born in Ethiopia with no fucking feet. What are you upset about all the fucking time? Like you're aggravated all the time. So maybe, and I've never seen a guy on pot that was upset.
No.
Or, like crabby.
Exactly. Angry. Nobody wants
And not
to.
like that stupid TV high either, where they're just like, can't stop laughing. Then you're too stoned. But just that somehow just take the edge off. Take one hit off the vape pen and then chill, hang out, and have a conversation.
I don't know. I don't, like I say, I was probably in 7th grade, later 7th grade. The summer between 7th and 8th was really,
Yeah, that's the first time I saw it too.
I can never remember one time in that whole span, and I'm 45, hearing anything about pot balls, weed balls. But you hear beer balls all the time. Everybody gets those beer muscles.
Oh, the beer muscles. Yeah,
You get drunk now, all of a sudden,
Oh God, oh my. So the counter to right, where you're going is exactly right. I know plenty of people who are the worst drunks in the world.
You get a couple in them, and now they want to fight. Just the anger comes out of them.
Right.
Whether it was there beforehand or not, you have the ability to.
Oh yeah.
But now
And-
suddenly that's gone.
Right. The alcohol thing seems to run in a cycle where they hit that high almost where they're beer muscled and run around, rah, and then it just crashes off where they're like they're falling down, can't do shit,
Right.
drunk, which is obnoxious. I mean, if there was a bar that didn't have alcohol and it just had pot in it, it'd probably be a happy.
It'd be the nicest place
Yeah,
ever.
reggae music playing, everybody fucking thrilled. And you'd be in there talking about, the universe and fucking all these deep thoughts.
It would be a thriving restaurant, I can tell you that.
Right. I didn't even put that to it for sure.
The appetizers.
Yes,
would-
right. The food would be
they
off
would
the
run out,
charts.
right.
Yes. No, I think it's a terrific business model. And then that's another thing that I don't see either is, so are you familiar with, what are the laws now? Like if you have a place where there's a spot where you could smoke cigarettes outside, because they have bars where like, this is the designated outside area where you can come out and have a smoke.
Right.
Is there going to be a designated area where you come out and smoke some pot?
Right now, there's not. And
Right. It doesn't
down the
make any
road,
sense
if
to
there
me.
would be,
I don't understand how
right
it's
now it has to
legal.
be in your home.
Right.
And there's stipulation that if an underage, like if you have kids, if they're in a room or in your home where they could come in contact with,
Right.
Secondhand.
Right.
you could, now how they can ever regulate. I mean, what are they going to look through your windows and see if you're
I
smoking?
don't understand why the regulation for that is so much heightened versus I've got a liquor cabinet that's just straight up a cabinet in my kitchen, and it's got enough liquor in it to kill fucking 15 teenagers. Like,
Right.
there's bottles of vodka, bottles of whiskey, but all that stuff's in there. But no one's requiring me to lock it up or like make it impossible for my kids to get anywhere near it.
Not at all.
My job as a parent is to have conversations with my kids and be like, listen, this is a social lubricant. There's people that are not very social unless they're a little bit, I've had people on the podcast and we don't like put it on camera, but like a couple of them were a little bit nervous about which you know they got rid of that like within 20 minutes because it's just conversation. But they were nervous, so they're like, you know, hey, do you mind if I have 2 or 3 beers before we start? I'm like, not at all. So we sit down in the kitchen and we have a couple drinks, and then we can sit down and start talking, and then you can see it on some of the podcasts, like 20 minutes in, she starts to like loosen up and chill out, start talking, and everything's fine. But at first, they're like, you know, deer in the headlights, looking around like, what the fuck am I doing here? So people act like that. If you're, you know, socially awkward, which a lot of people are, I think pot's another one that makes you not social, a little more outgoing, a little more like laid back until a certain point.
Right.
So I see people get too high, then they're paranoid.
It definitely, I like to say, it allows you to exhale.
There you go.
Social anxiety.
Right.
It seems nowadays why it's so widespread, and we can get into that, and our text messages and our, you know, social media and everything, the way we communicate everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
I still prefer to talk to somebody.
Yep, absolutely.
There's generations after us, you know, the youngers
Right.
that's all they know.
Right.
So
Right.
whether that's the cause of the amount of
And some
social
people like
anxiety
Tony
today,
are just way more obnoxious on social media than they are in person.
right? Now I have a degree of social anxiety, like just with crowds.
Okay.
I'm good in small crowd room people if I have room.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
If I go to a festival, a carnival, a concert, whatever, somewhere where it's just,
I just don't like people. in general,
I do not do well.
Right. I don't mind going to those things, but I couldn't. Like we were in the city just a couple weeks ago, and the girls I was down there with were like, "Oh, we love the city." I'm like, "I love the city for a visit,
Right.
but you know, I could stay here."
As long as I'm not driving, I hate
I'd
to
shoot people. I'd kill people.
I might go to the city more often if it wasn't the driving. I'm going tonight, taking a train.
Right.
I'll pay. I'll gladly give the Uber driver whatever it takes.
Sure.
You know.
And that's the other smart thing too. Like, you know, Uber and everything is so readily available everywhere. You get stoned off your ass at a place, out for a good time, call an Uber and drive home. The other one with pot that I don't understand, because I've never been in a situation where I've driven stoned. I honestly, you know, I've been stoned a very minimal amount of times. Like it's not a lot. But the times it's been at a party, it's been somewhere where someone's like, come on, and I'm like, all right, fine, and I do it, and I've enjoyed it every single time that I've done it. But I've never gotten behind the wheel, not because, like, you know, well, partly because I don't know how it'll be, and then secondly, I've just never had the opportunity. It's always been a situation where I'm like at a place that I'm gonna stay for a really long time, and then I'm good. And as an adult, the parties I go to tend to be here. I tend to have people here. I mean, my backyard's better than most of the backyards, so.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of my circumstances, but I heard people drive better stoned and I can see it happening because there's things that I'm trying to do sometimes, and I'm more meticulous about it because I don't know if I'm paranoid. I think I'm gonna fuck it up or something like that, but I'm really taking my time.
For myself, on an average, if I've had nothing, and that's most times.
Yes, right.
My throttle pedal has 2 positions.
Yeah.
Up and down.
All the way down.
You know, I drive fast, I drive aggressive.
Sure.
I mean, driving north of here on expressways will do that to you.
Sure.
You either get run over or you learn to adapt.
Right.
I learned that quick after working up there.
There's a joke with me. I drive like I drive like a bat out of hell. I got a Subaru that I've done 134 miles an hour in the Subaru, and it's terrific. The thing handles great and everything else. And I mean, I don't feel like I'm out of control, but I definitely have people with the old fuck bar holding on while I'm going. So that I'm the same way. I drive.
My wife, that's one of the things she looks at when we're buying a car. Where is it at?
Yes, hold on to that. Sure.
But now that for me, just not even a full, let's say the vape pen.
Yeah.
If I was to have a pen with me, not even a full pull. Just there's a fine line where I'm not stoned. I'm not. Oh my God, I'm not high. I'm not. But there's just that point where you can exhale and it just relax. Now, some people take a Xanax or whatever
drive on
volume,
that,
whatever
and
it is.
dri-
And
that's how they live normally, is
Right.
on that pill, and they drive on that no problem.
and that's completely fine
Right.
because somebody
Or
gave,
somebody has, I mean, someone's going to listen and be like, oh, I can't believe he drives a little, like with any pot in it. It's a stigma that you need to get rid of, because I have definitely been stoned where I'm in more control than I am drinking. And people always drive. I mean, if you can't go out and have a couple drinks without having some alcohol in your system and then driving. Like, that's how it goes. So you do that. Everyone does that. And there's got to be a level. The problem too is, like, I've heard testing's not very, like with work, they do like blood test stuff, and then
right.
that's no good because it stays in you for a month.
It could have been, you could have been 10 days ago.
Right.
I'm not familiar if there's new ways now.
I heard there was a new way coming out. I heard there was something with a swab or some kind of enzyme that they would find out if it was like active.
In your mouth.
Right,
or,
something
yeah.
like that.
But self-medicating is definitely, for me, if I'm going to drive, just, where my white knuckled, I'm screaming inside my car. I'm not rolling out the windows and throwing things.
Right.
Not to say it's never happened.
Sure.
But that's just it. And for me, I found the dose. Let's say if I went to the doctor and they're like, okay, on a daily, take this. I don't even know what
Right.
0.5 milligram, whatever the milligrams.
Sure.
This is what you do daily. This is what's gonna calm you down. Now, there's no do not operate motor vehicle, machinery.
Sure.
That's completely fine.
Right.
If you know the dose, now this is nobody can know but yourself.
Right.
If I smoke this much, or at this time, how I'm going to feel. Now, it's not going to be different every time if you're smoking the same thing. There's different strands. There's such a variety now.
Yeah. Right. Most of that.
But if you know what you have,
yeah, because now shouldn't we start that it's legal and it's regulated? Shouldn't we start knowing? I know with edibles, they're like, you can get like a 10 milligram gummy bear.
3,
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're taking. Also, like I said, this podcast, if someone's out there and they're curious about, trying marijuana for the first time, which I had a woman on, she's a real sweetheart, but she's never even had a cup of coffee. She just does not. She's never smoked. She's had some alcoholic drinks, stuff like that, but she's never done any other drug ever except for alcohol. That's it. No coffee, no cocaine, no heroin, no pot, nothing. And there's got to be other people out there that just have never touched pot. I'm recommending it. And I mean, I'm not a smoker. I can tell you that there's times where I was not having a good day or things were just bugging me about whatever's going on. And to take a couple of drags off of a vape pen, I mix the two, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do either, but I like to have some wine when I,
Right.
if I do it too. So someone have a bottle of wine open, we're eating, and then someone passes that, I take that, and then I drink 3 glasses of wine. I feel terrific. It's wonderful. I
Exactly.
feel really good. Everything's gone. I'm ready to have a
you
conversation.
can
or whatever.
function. Right.
Right. So, but I know there's 3. Okay, so I watched a documentary on pot itself. There's 3 original varieties of marijuana, right? There's indica, there's sativa, and then there's a third one that's like a smaller plant, but that one's not really used that much or something like
I'm
that.
not. I know the 2 for sure.
Okay.
And then there's hybrids that people.
Well, I think everything now is supposed to be a hybrid because it's been mixed so much.
Right. You'll have a sativa dominant.
Right.
Now, how they can determine from this plant the ratios.
Well, I guess.
I
So
mean-
if it's at a place, from what I read, it's almost coming with a like whiskey does, with a proof on it. So there was one that I saw on a podcast that was 45%. Yes, right. No, that's off the charts. I want to say they said the stuff that we were getting when we were kids, the street shit, was like 9%, 9, 10, something like that. And this was 45% THC. You're getting rocked.
Right. That's definitely a day off, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Right. Don't touch that unless you're.
You
right.
better not have plans.
And I mean, the couple times that I've had people over, like there were two pens going around, and they were from the same person. The person was like, "Well, that one's pretty strong, and that one's pretty weak." You know what I mean? Like, just choose what you want to do.
Right.
So like they knew what was going on with it and everything else. And you know, when you're taking a drag, it's going to depend on how much you actually drag in too and everything else. But yeah, if there was a way to, like, if the pen itself had a thing on there that told you how much you've consumed, I think that'd be a good idea.
Right.
'Cause, I mean, your life, you've just been judging it on, I know what I can handle.
Right. I've never gotten something new and just went all out. I'm jumping in full head of steam, and then I'm going to go do whatever.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's kind of common sense.
Right, but you learned that from one time you did that, and it was like, holy shit. What do I do?
Oh, yeah. And
Right.
like I said, it's been over
Yeah.
half of my life, I'd say.
Right,
You know?
right. Yeah, saying it was 30 years, yeah.
There was some gaps in between, don't
Sure,
get me wrong.
sure.
But 2 years being the longest one.
Right, we just did. Now, why did you stop?
Because I got in trouble when I had to. I was on
Okay,
probation.
right, sure.
So there was randoms.
And you had no problem, like, there was obviously no physical addiction. You weren't like
No.
the sweats or like...
Don't do it. I don't do it.
Right. Now, for me, I don't have... So, when I say I'm recommending it, okay, I don't want to get anybody... You know, it's a weird thing, the way that we approach things. You see people that are heroin addicts, they go to rehab, and the one thing that they can do is smoke cigarettes. So they're all out there smoking cigarettes. This is okay. But marijuana is not. I also see people that are alcoholics that they have to cut off 100% of any drinking at all because they don't have the willpower to have one. As soon as they have one, they're going to have a whole mess of them. It seems like the people that have the ability to just, you know, go from being someone who's a little bit out of control with drinking to I can just go out and have 2 beers and I'm okay. Like they have that willpower. That seems like a better way to go if you're able to do that. I chewed tobacco forever, for like, probably almost 20 years. And I just one day decided I was done doing that and I set it down. And that's got to be, a good 10 years ago or 15 years ago now that I just set it down. And I've never picked it up again. And I've never thought about it. I used to smoke cigars on the regular. I used to smoke backwoods, like the little ones you get at the gas station in the foil pouch. And I'll tell you what, used to go to Canada twice a year, be up in Wisconsin a couple of weekends here and there too, fishing, and loved to be in the boat and smell of that backwoods cigar. And I also felt like it kept the flies and the fucking mosquitoes and shit away. So I liked it, right? I'd have one of those. And I think because I chewed forever, I liked the end of the cigar in my mouth, and it was kind of chewing also. Because if it went out, I would still just keep it mulling around in my lips. About 6 months ago, summertime, I bought a package of backwoods that I hadn't had in 15 years, and I smoked one. I could not get the taste out of my mouth for 3 fucking days. I'm never going to smoke another one again. It was the most awful thing in the world. And I don't know if it's because I quit chewing or what, but I have no interest in it at all. Like, it's nothing for me. But there are people out there that have addictive personalities that once I don't know how it works with marijuana because you're not supposed to be able to get addicted to that, but once they do something, they can't stop doing it, sort of a thing. So I'm not trying to make someone that's got a drug problem go back to doing drugs. But it almost seems to me that we may evolve to a place where people who are addicted to opioids substitute the opioid for marijuana.
Oh, yes.
And they can live on an even keel, feel good. I think that there's people out there that just on the general don't feel good. And those are the people I'd recommend. Try a little marijuana. Maybe you'll feel a little bit better.
Right.
If you can function. Because I don't want your life to be fucked up.
I have never, like I said, I've had some gaps. 2 years was the longest that I can remember anyhow. I've never woke up sick. I've never felt a headache, withdrawals of whatever sense. I've never had anything from that.
Right.
I'm also not an addictive personality like you. I chewed for a long time myself.
Sure.
And when I was younger, I smoked cigarettes. Never really loved them, but I did. I smoked,
Sure.
One day I was driving home from work after leaving a bar. Said I was done. I guess I littered. I threw them out the window.
Sure. Yeah, but
And
that's
never looked
That's a
back.
habit that's so expensive by itself. What's a pack of cigarettes running $6 now or something?
I wouldn't know. This was in '96. I haven't had
Right,
cigarettes
so
since
it's,
'96.
20 years ago.
Chewing, I chewed up until a few years ago. I did not love it. I would chew now.
Oh yeah. No, I liked it too. I did. Anytime I was out on the boat,
Oh
man,
yeah,
for
just
sure.
a lip full. And
Yep.
my wife hated it. She was
yeah,
not
it's
a fan.
disgusting.
Spit bottle. Yeah, I mean,
It's gross.
She was a closet smoker. Now I have a thing. I can't stand cigarettes. I hate them. I've seen what they've done to family.
Sure.
To me, it's the most poison thing on earth.
Stinky, for
Yeah.
sure. I couldn't date anyone ever that smoked.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
And she would never believe me that I don't care if she had one. She could go through a ritual, a brush, gum, perfume. I knew
Oh
it.
yeah, no, I was there for sure.
Oh no, I was by
Just when they
someone's-
walk in the room and I'm like, woo, you stink like a cigarette.
Right. We had an agreement. And this would be spread out. At least as far as I know, she wasn't.
Yeah.
For me, I could chew.
Right.
Especially if I was going fishing,
I
I
don't
could
remember
go
having
through a
that be the
can.
taste thing either, though. Like, it's different that you're lighting it on fire. Like, the cigarette, it's stinky. Like, but the chewing, it's just gross because it's spitting all
Right.
the time. But, I mean, otherwise, I don't think I ever, like, could taste it on my mouth or anything like that, like, after I was done.
No.
I mean, if I had a swig of a beer or something, the chew was gone.
Right. Once you rinse out.
Yeah, it's gone.
I stopped that day. Never looked back.
Now,
She had a little more problem with cigarettes, and she wasn't even as regular as I did.
yeah.
She ended up taking Shantex or whatever, and she's never had another one since then. And what's funny is after the couple weeks, a month I'd say, of her not,
Yeah.
she has that same sensitivity. We'll
Smell
walk
it.
into a
Sure.
store, or out of a store where somebody was outside, and it hits you in the face. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I ever did this."
Right.
And I-
it's sneaky for sure. I
See?
mean, remember, geez, we're near the same age. I laugh because, like, when I was a kid, you went to a restaurant, it was just, there were ashtrays everywhere.
Oh,
I mean, I remember at one point they separated the place where, like, this half was smoking and that, which is stupid because, I mean, you can totally
Yeah.
smell it over there.
You're in a
But
box.
there's people that are, like, chain smoking and eating their breakfast with their chains. I'm like, oh God, it's fucking awful. Now you don't see any of it, which is it's better. I know there's probably smokers out there that are upset about it, but you should just really stop doing that. Like, it's a dumb thing. I didn't notice a difference. Like I said, I was never a cigarette smoker, so I never did that. But the chew and the cigars, like I like a nice big Cohiba or something like that too. But I think I dug the fact that I was chewing on the end of it pretty much and getting the juices from the cigar.
I would agree because it's funny. I had this. I could tell you that same story.
Right.
I chewed and I would enjoy it. Backwoods was a go-to.
Sure.
And then on
Cheap,
occasion,
you get like
you would
6 or something in a package, and right.
Occasionally, I would like a Cohiba, a Romeo and Juliet. A good cigar.
Yeah.
But
Now I get a buzz from that for sure. If I smoked that Cohiba, I would feel, and I say a buzz, like I don't really feel like I felt good, but I felt like a little lightheaded and a little like, woo, that's really like
Right.
maybe a little bit dizzy here with this whole big huge cigar thing. It was never something that I was like, I'm gonna go do that so that I feel good. And it's not to the marijuana thing, like I don't feel like if I take a couple puffs off of something, and I don't want to be, I'm 48 years old, man, I don't want to be out of control. There's no time where I want that to be the case anymore. Like if I'm out drinking, wine will get me a little bit. Like I'll get to that fourth glass of wine and be like, all right, I gotta slow down because I'm getting, a little giggly and it's a little too much. But, when you were younger, I think it was like you didn't know what you were doing. You started doing shots and you got out of control and everything else. But, I think there's a way to use marijuana in a way where you're just having a good time and it's not fucking up your life and it's not fucking up your evening. there's got to be some bad, like, I mean, maybe not. Like, I don't know, because I haven't been around it enough. But there's never been a time where you're like, oh, if it wasn't so high, I wouldn't have said that. Or if it wasn't so high, I wouldn't have fucked up my evening. Because I've never had it where I was high enough to fuck up an evening as far as that went.
I find it's the opposite for me. There's a good chance I'm not going to say some stupid shit if
Oh,
I
there you
have
go.
had
Okay,
some.
all right.
It gives you that slight bit of pause, I think.
Slows you down a little, yeah.
Just that, where you're not so quick to react.
Sure.
Not that I can't react.
Right.
Now, don't, you know what I mean? But I have somewhat of a filter. Just
Yeah.
because, and that's another thing about pot. You'll analyze some stuff.
Yeah. Which
You know
I
what I
love.
mean?
That's
really
the part of it,
focus
right?
and think about it.
That's the part that I like, I think, the most, because I'm a guy that likes to have a conversation. I think I love the fact that, like, if a couple, 4 or 5 people get high, you start having, like, deeper conversations than you ever would. If
Absolutely.
you just met up over fried chicken, you wouldn't have this conversation. But you're all 5 of you are stoned, and you start talking about whether it's politics or whatever it is. But you start having these, like, really deep, philosophical conversations.
You're more willing to understand somebody's point.
Sure.
You're not so argumentative, but you
Right.
can discuss.
There's definitely people that they're creatives, and I think it helps them be more creative for sure. I mean, look at all of the artists that obviously
Absolutely.
partake. Like I said, I would just like to break through the stigma of this whole thing. Like, I had a woman over, we were drinking some wine, and I said, said something about pot, and she's like, "Oh, I don't get high," and I'm like, "Well, we're going to drink a bottle of wine, so you're going to get a little bit high." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, but I don't touch marijuana. I don't touch pot." And I'm like, okay, why do you feel this way? And in my experience, I feel like I run into more women that have that feeling than guys. Like, guys are like, I don't care. I remember a guy named Scott, we were kids, who didn't drink. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. He doesn't drink. And we all were drinkers. He goes, yeah, he smokes pot. So, like, he was the one guy out of the 15 people we're hanging out with who would just get high. Nobody else was even getting high. He wasn't offering it. No one was
Right.
getting it. But he would get high, and the rest of us would drink, and we'd all hang out. And a couple guys, I think, that out there were like, oh, that pothead or this or that. But for the most part, nobody cared. I don't know if it's the woman thing where you're, like, in charge of caring for the family and everything else. So seeing a guy that gets high is a negative because the stigma is that he's not going to be able to function or he's not going to be able to, like, take care of the family when he's stoned,
Right.
sort of thing. So I don't understand what about it is, but there's at least 3 or 4 women that have really turned their nose up to even the prospect of it, like, sort of thing. And I don't have any pot, but, like, I've had it where I had people over and I've seen people get that, like, scritched up, like, getting high. And I'm like,
Now you're suddenly a bad person.
yeah, I don't get it.
And
Like,
a lesser human or...
honestly, I think if you really knew it's perception. Because I think if you really knew the facts, you would turn your nose up more to the guy who's on a regular basis drinking 5 beers a night than you would to the guy who takes a couple of hits every day. Like physically and, like, your health wise, you're probably gonna have less problems if you're a pot smoker than you are if you're a drinker. And I know some people that, like, drink a bottle of vodka a day.
Yeah. Now, liver failure, kidney... I mean, alcohol is in mass quantities. Now, I'm not talking a glass of wine. Social here,
Well, we're weird in America too, because in Europe, a glass of wine with dinner is like,
normal.
14-year-old kids are drinking a glass of wine.
Right.
Which you go to jail for that here.
You don't have to look very far at all to find health, how it affects your health drinking.
Right.
It does this, it does that. I mean, there's a list.
Sure.
Off the top of my head, I really can't think of anything that pot would do to you. Maybe
I don't know.
the smoking part, maybe.
Yeah.
I would say maybe just because you're smoking and putting smoke in your lungs, I
Right.
would say that could
Sure. And then we were talking about the vape thing too.
inhaling nothing. I don't think inhaling anything is good for you.
Right. Well, then the vape thing, I don't know what with nowadays not being able to know what on the internet, whether it's true or not, makes it tough because you see all these crazy stories. They always show some teenager in a hospital bed, and one time she vaped, and now she's got, all these blisters in her lungs. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, or that could be a stock photo of a person in a hospital bed. I don't know.
Right, and it was probably put out by a maker of rolling papers because now you're not going to buy their product. So
Exactly,
tell you why
no.
that pen is bad.
I had this conversation on a Facebook thread, and I was like, well, what about all these things that are going on? And the woman was like, listen, I used to smoke. I moved from cigarettes to vaping because it's better for you than, inhaling shit lit on fire, which it has to be. It's got to be better to inhale some sort of a liquid that's in a vapor than it is to burn something and put smoke in your lungs. Like, if you were at a campfire, just sucking that in is not good for you, let
Right.
alone every chemical they're putting in. The cigarette thing is crazy, the amount of shit that they put in a fucking cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And then the plastic filter you're sucking it through and everything. Like, everything's
Fiberglass
bad. Yeah,
and
it's
just
all
that.
bad. But so I don't know what's true and what's not with the vaping thing, but I'm seeing crazy shit out there as far as it's bad for you. We don't know what's been put out by the tobacco industry because they'll lose money because they're not selling cigarettes the same way. All of it to me is a little bit crazy. I wish there was a way that you could, the cigar thing for me, I think it was appealing because it was a cigar is a tobacco leaf with tobacco inside of it. A cigarette's all this plastic shit and everything else, this paper and everything else that you're not supposed to smoke.
Right.
So like I would do that, but I know I was never addicted to it. Like there was never a time where I was like, I gotta have a cigar a day. It was only when I was doing something that wasn't, like even work-wise, I never smoked a cigar at work. Like a relaxing kind of thing was always the deal. Chewing, I would do at work, but most of the time that's so gross on a job site with construction, I would supplement sunflower seeds and just, be chomping on sunflower seeds all day, and then I would chew when I got off work. And then the weird thing with pot too is I know there's a physical difference in your high when you eat it versus when you smoke it. And they say when you smoke it, it goes through your lungs into your blood system. And I don't know, the guy tell me that it was something about it being heated, which I didn't understand that either. But when you eat it, it goes through your liver.
Right, and absorb.
Right, but your
through
liver produces
digestive.
some sort of chemical compound to counteract or something. The high, and I've done both, is completely different.
It's a more of the quote-unquote body high.
Yeah,
You
right.
feel more relaxed. It's not as much of a head buzz, I guess.
Sure,
But-
it's too much for me. The edible is way more potent.
See, I prefer, honestly.
The edible than the
Yeah. Now,
probably safer.
part of it because, like you say, now, especially if you go and buy them from a dispensary,
Mhm.
it gives you the amount.
You know exactly what you're taking.
If I cut it in half, let's say it's a 5 milligram gummy.
Right.
Or just use that. You cut it in half. Okay, now it's 2.5.
Yeah.
Or whatever you do it. Not only, I find it'll last longer.
Right.
Also, it'll take longer to get or feel the effects.
Well, that's always my problem. Is I don't feel anything. I don't feel
And
anything.
that's
I
the
take
problem
more.
a lot of people
Right.
come across is they eat something, they don't wait long enough, now they're going to eat more. Man, and let's say it's brownies. Well,
Yep.
you get a little buzz. The munchies are a thing.
Yep.
People-
Sure.
Now you have a pan of pop brownies.
Right.
Now you got the munchies. Well, now you're eating another pop brownie. And now this person's, oh my God, I got so overhigh. I'm
Right.
never going to eat it again because I was so stoned and
Right.
I couldn't have, well, you didn't allow that time. You should never take a new edible. I don't care what it says on there. I'll never eat a whole
And
one.
the brownie thing's also not. It's not. You can't regulate that right either because one cube of brownie could be loaded with THC and the next one has hardly anything in it. So you don't know
Right.
what you're getting
You
anyway.
can stir that batter
Yeah.
as much as you want. I'm sorry.
Right.
That quarter piece might be more than a middle piece,
Absolutely.
vice versa.
Absolutely. Right.
But if you have the candy that is supposedly,
Yeah, mixed correctly. Right.
Right. you got an idea. It's like the prescription
Right.
with the amount of milligrams in
Sure.
a pain pill, stomach pill, whatever that medicine is, you know.
Sure.
Antibiotics, they're 500 milligrams.
Right.
Okay, well, this gummy is 5 milligrams, so I know for me, if I got nothing to do and I want to, you know, enjoy the day, whatever,
Yeah.
I might eat 5.
Right.
And that product there might make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Now I can buy another 5 milligram that might be a different strand, a different,
Okay.
and now they're the same amount, and that one might be a lot stronger and affect me a lot different.
Sure.
Where I only need half of that one.
Right. Now I see a lot of people that their goal with it, they just take it to go to sleep. Like it's a thing that they take, and that's, I've done that where like the gummy thing, I'm like, so that's how I end up on the bed like with the green coming out. I took it because I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna like, you know, get a good night's sleep on this sort of a deal. I kind of feel like it's a waste. Like I feel like I took it and then I just like went to sleep. I have some funky ass dreams,
Right.
but like I didn't get to be like awake and high sort of a thing.
Right. Well, and that's what the difference between doing some form of marijuana to get high or get a buzz, or are you self-medicating?
Right.
If somebody insomnia is, I've had issues with insomnia from time to time, and it absolutely helps. It's not 100%, you know, but it allows you to relax.
Sure. Well,
Now,
I mean, I know it from a point where I'm paralyzed from my chest down, and you know, everyone thinks that like that's a thing where your body just like, I don't know, it doesn't work or whatever like that. That it's totally not true. It's like my body goes all over the goddamn place. I'm sitting in a seated position all day in a wheelchair. When I jump on the bed and lay flat on my back, my body's like, what the fuck are we doing? And it jumps all over the place and everything else. It moves like all crazy. If I roll onto my side, my body over hours will work its way back into a seated position because that's where it's, I don't know, comfortable. I don't know, but that's what it does. The problem with that is it doesn't do it like where it's just like moving there. It does it in jerks where it's like, you know, jerking myself into the position that it wants to be in. And if you're someone who's like a light sleeper like I am, it will wake you up. Now, when I took the edible and went to bed, no spasms, man. They're all gone. Like, oh, just, you know. So I did sleep more soundly with it than without it. So I totally got it. And that's some of the reason that the guy that dropped me off the edible dropped it off, because I'm like, you know, I have a tough time sleeping and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, do this. And like, it was really not to get high. It was like so you could get a better night's sleep. So I get that too. And then I see it with people that, like, if you're an NFL football player, I think pot should be totally like legal and almost like encouraged for those guys because they're popping pills otherwise to deal with all the bangs and bruises and everything else. And I think that I saw a study that said something like the pot thing was supposed to be beneficial for CTE as far as like chilling your brain out or something like that too.
I have that.
Okay.
I mean, what could have football have contributed? Maybe I played
Sure.
in high school, but that nothing
Right.
more. But I've had a high number of concussions.
Sure.
I had a major head trauma around 18 years of age, and
Okay.
I mean they brought me back. I had no heartbeat for almost 2 minutes. I mean,
Sure.
I thought it was.
Good.
They thought I was going to be in a coma.
Yeah.
I came to,
Oh, Amazon delivery or something.
and I came to in a CAT scan machine. I'll never forget it. I
Very
went from being on this hill skiing to
Yeah.
I thought I got abducted by aliens. You know,
Right.
but I have issues now with migraines and visual migraines, and they call it visual auras
Okay.
and things that come on, and I will get a headache and a migraine that I wouldn't wish on the devil. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'd take a whole mouth of toothaches before I would have this. I didn't know I could be so helpless
Right.
and I have pens where I can do an injection when that happens.
Wow.
I'm on, preventative medication that makes me feel more doped up than anything. And I've recently switched medications. They have an injection now that you do once every 28 days. So that was a huge step up for me because, I mean, the stuff they gave me was nicknamed Dopamax.
Oh,
You know,
do they kick your ass when you take it then?
you
Yeah.
walk around like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I was on a higher dose at one point where I basically just felt like I sat there and drooled. Like,
Oh, Jesus.
it was the lowest point of my life that I could ever imagine, and it wasn't due to anything that
Sure.
I had done. The medication was so bad to me. I mean, I would go to bed. When I would lay down, I wished I didn't wake up. Now, I never contemplated taking my life. Don't mix the two up. But if it would have happened, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I've been there.
my quality of
Yeah,
life
totally
was
been there.
horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never actively wished to be dead, but there's times where I've been like,
Okay.
low enough where I'm like, hey, if this is over, this is how it go, I would look forward to like the day
I don't know
after
that I
it's
would have
gone.
known any difference.
No, right.
I mean,
yeah.
my wife would have to remind me, like, hey, did you eat? It was great for if you wanted to diet. You know, I thought about taking it again for a month just to lose some of the weight because I couldn't even remember to eat. I didn't know I was hungry.
Wow.
Once I would start to eat, then I could eat.
Sure.
But, I mean, that was okay for them to give me and for me to take.
Yeah.
Because it was a doctor told me to.
Yeah.
Now, I had spoke to my neurologist about pot and said, hey, it helps me. I know some people might not believe me.
Right.
And she's like, no, I absolutely believe you.
Right.
Now, this was a few years back. So she wasn't able to, she said, if I was able to, and that was it was early onset of them being able to prescribe it for certain medical conditions.
Okay. Sure.
Very new.
Yeah.
Migraines was not on that list.
Really? Like glaucoma and like whatever, like
Right.
upset stomach is on that list.
Yeah,
It's a weird. Right.
Crohn's and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But she's like, I can't tell you to go home and do that, you know, as a professional, as a doctor.
Right.
She said, but I'm not going to tell you not to.
There you go. Right.
If it helps you,
Yeah.
then
Right.
You know.
Right. So then that's where I would go with it. Like, I think that there's this thought that if a doctor prescribes it, it's perfectly fine. It's like people will medicate their children. Like, I mean, there'll be 6-year-olds on Adderall or whatever to even them out. But this other thing, I guess the problem I go back to with it is the not regulated, not knowing what, like self-medicating on a level where you're like, I think I need a little bit more, is a little bit weird. When if you could find a way to be on a certain amount that would like not make you high but make you feel all right, sort of a thing. I mean, I think there's a time and a place to get high. One of my favorite things, and I've only done it a handful of times when I was a kid, was I like mushrooms a lot. Like, that was fun. I never had a bad time on mushrooms. No. I mean, some nights laughed so hard that like the next day I was like, I had an ab workout from hell yesterday because we just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. So, and I mean, again, that was another one that the times that I've done that have been out, I wasn't driving, but the driver was doing it too. I don't know how he did it.
yeah,
I mean, I was ripped, like, as far as that went. And we were, like, going from town to town, drinking and everything else, too. But, dumb kid stuff or whatever. But I enjoyed the mushrooms. It was fun. I had a blast. I mean, those were times I looked at and said, that was a really good time. They're talking about legalizing, I think it's legalizing, not decriminalizing, psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in the psychedelic mushrooms, in Colorado. I don't know if that passed or not, but I know that was one of the things they're talking about. They're having, I guess, great results with psilocybin and people that have PTSD.
yes.
And whenever someone says PTSD, you immediately think veteran, but the biggest way to get, the most common way to get PTSD is a car wreck.
Oh yeah.
So people that get in a really bad car wreck and then they're afraid to get in the car, or they're really paranoid that they're going to get another car wreck. I, in the chair, went down a ramp one time that was just jacked up at the bottom. Flipped the chair. I boxed. I got in a lot of fights. Hit my head on The chute for a concrete truck whacked me the one time. I hit a bucket for a case tractor, and I mean, people think that that's like it's metal that doesn't forgive. Like you hit it, you feel like you hit the earth with your face.
Right.
And I've never been knocked out. I've never been woozy. I flipped my chair back, whipped it down so hard. I had 10 staples in the back of my head, and I was out from the time they put me in the ambulance. I don't remember seeing an ambulance to after they did testing and CAT scan. I woke up after that. And it was fucked up that I had that bad of a concussion and was knocked out. PTSD, I had PTSD every time I saw a curb cut out. I'm like, oh man, it's fucked up to be somewhere, get knocked out, and wake up somewhere totally different.
Absolutely.
Like that stuck with me. I'm like, at any time during my day, busting around a wheelchair, I could be somewhere doing something, and the next minute be somewhere completely different because I got knocked the fuck out.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, I had a concussion bad enough where I was like, just in a dark room. I couldn't remember shit. I think I lost like 3 weeks of my life where people had to like, and it started to come back where I got it all back. But like I forgot everything that was going on. Like girlfriend at the time showed up and I looked at her and I'm like, "We still dating?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay," because I had no idea what had gone on in the last 3 weeks. So I think if somebody could have given me Cybacillin, and I probably went like 2 or 3 years where every curb cut out was. And if I see a hairy one now, still I'm a little bit like leery. Like I don't know if I'm gonna go down that or not. I'll go a block out of my way to go down one that looks like it's, better off. But, so, if Cybacillin would help with that, let alone our veterans who, if they've got something they're really dealing with,
Yeah.
by all means, work that out, figure it out to make your life better. So, like, I saw a debate whether it's, now, how do you feel? Do you feel like I don't know if it's medicine. I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful for a lot of people to have a couple beers. I think if you lived there's a lot of people that they lived their life and there was no alcohol, they would be miserable. They'd be upset.
My feeling is, if there's something that can genuinely improve your quality of life, then how could it be bad?
Well, abused, but yeah.
Now that's a whole other.
Right.
If you're abusing it, then it's not helping your quality of life.
No, for sure.
Now it's negatively affected.
Right, absolutely.
But if there's something that can absolutely improve your quality of life.
Right.
Perfect example, and this is another stigma. Best friend growing up. We were brothers. I mean, his family's my family, vice versa. Broke his back. He was at work.
Okay.
Had surgery. Had a couple of them, actually. We were third. The last I remember, and one of the saddest things that I can remember, was going to see him. We're about 30.
You want me to note what is status of things that I have been that I can remember, right?
No.
And
Okay. What should I note down instead?
I don't know how that even gets set off, but Alexa, stop. Whatever the hell she's doing.
They had him on so many Valium, Xanax, Oxycontin, this and that, where I went to go visit him, and he literally he was walking with a cane.
Oh, wow.
As broke down as I can imagine. He had one of the grabber things on the kitchen counter so he can open a cabinet, and because he couldn't even reach up.
Yeah, right.
Sitting on the couch talking, I remember he had gotten a Pop-Tart he was going to eat, and he literally went down and passed out with a Pop-Tart in his hand.
Wow.
And then he'd wake up and start talking. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I remember driving home and, like, eyes wailing up, thinking, what happened to my, this is like a brother to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Now, yeah, he's totally incapacitated.
Some life happens, this and that. We would talk, but there was a gap in between. Not right after that, but soon after that, there was a gap in when I had seen him.
Sure.
time went by, and next thing I know, he gives me a call one day, and you could just tell on the phone the difference in his voice. He's like, hey, he was living somewhere. He had moved back to Matson.
Okay.
And he's like, I'd like to see you, come out and this and that. He's like, I'd really like to. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, what are you doing now? He's like, oh, I was just riding this dirt bike, but why, you gonna come now? I was like, oh, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Like, motocross, dirt bike. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm doing great. You ain't gonna believe it. You gotta come see me. And I was like, well, I called off work that day.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, man,
Sure.
I'm going to see my buddy. I get out there and I couldn't believe it. He had gotten off. Now, there was a time prior to all the gap where he called me out of the blue and the world was out to get him.
Oh,
He was being
super paranoid.
Oh my God. It was like,
Makes sense.
and there was some truth to it, but not to the extent. His ex-wife just robbed him.
Oh, okay.
Set him. I mean, it was crazy.
Right.
The mind game. She took advantage of his medication, put it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, I know a lot of people, especially with where I work, that pain pills are
Right.
not only a part of life, but have ruined most. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know any of them that 100% bounce back. Like, it's so hard to break that addiction
Right.
without them giving you another pill to, you go from one addiction to the other.
Right.
Suboxone or something like that.
Sure.
That's somehow better, but okay. He did it. He was off of all his pain pills, off of everything. He ended up somehow connecting with a trainer, with a guy, and started doing some aqua therapy and started doing HGH injections,
Okay.
growth hormone. Next thing you know, he was out at a pool and working out. I mean, now he trains MMA. I mean, he's not going to be fighting on TV, but
No, right.
he
sure.
trains with all them guys.
Yeah.
He goes surfing. He does between that, and then he did some testosterone and different.
Yeah, some TRT. Right.
At one point, did he do a little bit more? Yeah, he ventured out, but like he explained to me, and that's what made me think about it with pot and like you say, a glass of wine.
Yeah.
But he said my quality of life was zero.
Well, yeah. If you're
I
just
couldn't
in
have
agitation,
sex. I
right.
couldn't hold a conversation. He was in his 30s. He's like, they won't get prescribed. That's not something that you can just go. I mean, it's a little bit more now nowadays they have hormone replacement places that you'll pay tens of $20s, $100,000 for. But he was able to do steroids,
Yeah.
growth hormone, and not only can he walk and reach up without
Yeah.
he's driving motorbikes, he's
Sure.
surfing, he's training.
Right.
But the stigma is, oh my God, you did growth hormone and steroids. Oh, like you're some kind of bad person.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think there's
Just
a lot
like
of people out there, right, that have done steroids for sure. Like, I mean, I had a guy on the podcast that the whole podcast was about the fact that, like, he was in the 90s, he was a bodybuilder, and, steroids were just a thing. I mean, one of the gyms he would go to, if you looked at the ceiling in the locker room, there were just nothing but needles. Like, people just threw the
like
needles
darts.
up into the ceiling. So, and I think everything in moderation is something. Right now, the steroid thing is, I know all kinds of regular dudes who are not musclehead workout freaks or anything like that are doing TRT. Just because the age that we're getting.
I am.
Oh, are you? Yeah. Now, how do you deal?
I have the gel.
Right. So, how long have you been doing that?
Oh, a few years. Yeah. Actually, now I think about it, longer. Probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay, now, I had a buddy of mine who was like, oh man, you got to do this. It's the greatest thing. I lost some weight. I feel terrific, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I don't really feel that bad right now, but I do spend a bunch of hours in the gym. And, if it helped my performance in the gym, I would do anything. And I mean, I work out. I got a bunch of podcasts coming up about like all these misconceptions about, people in wheelchairs and stuff like that. And my paralysis is pretty high. Like, I don't have good hand function. So for me to lift weights, our gym out there, like I've got everything rigged with straps and stuff like that, so I can lift weights. And I'm pretty religious about it. I'm probably 6 days on the average that I'm in there. There's times in the wintertime that if I've got every day, then I'm in there every day. It's just how I pass the time. Like if I've got a couple hours, the TV can be on, a podcast can be on, and I'm gonna lift weights. So I was looking for it, and I went in, got my blood tests and everything else, and I don't know if I need to go to a different place or what I need to do, but like I went in there and they're like, no, we can't. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you don't have a low enough. You have to have a reading below this certain amount to get it. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll have to figure it out, because I was like, I don't know if the gel thing I heard was like, you got to watch that though. Like anyone gets that on them or like,
Yeah, and that was my concern. I've done both.
the
I originally
injections.
had the injections.
Okay.
Hands down, prefer that.
Right.
It's-
Now why the switch?
The doctor.
Mm.
What was it? A urologist or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Right. So I went
She refused to give them to me
Okay.
unless I had to come in once every so often, and
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
a copay every day for her to give me the shot.
to administer, right.
And I was like, I have done this,
Yeah. Sure.
Originally, I had reached out, their new mail or, the men's clinic.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
all
yeah,
these
I
things.
heard the
Well, I
radio
filled out
ads.
one of these things, when it was like, do you feel like this, and that, and I filled that out. Yeah, well, I got a phone call from the doctor. At the time, this was before I seen so many clinics out there like that now. The place was in Florida.
Okay.
And the doctor, we talked for a while. I explained this, and he went over everything, and he said, I'm going to email you some outlines, cost, this and that, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
So he did. Now, they do not take insurance. So you're going to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
It was going to be $200-300 a month for only testosterone.
Okay.
Now, he also sent me some for HGH. That was, $8,000 for.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
I was like, who can do this? Athletes can. That's
Right. Yeah. Who could afford that?
It was insane to me. But now, if this is something that can help me legitimately, I don't know that I need a growth hormone. I don't know that I didn't.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
At the time, I knew my testosterone was really low.
Yeah, and I had another guy on just podcast like a couple weeks ago. The same thing. He's having all kinds of fatigue issues, sexual issues, like all kinds of shit was going on with him. So he was getting it tested and going to get there, which that's great. Like, I think the thing that with the TRT is like you go in for regular blood testing and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Right, because like the guy that was on that was taking steroids, like at that time in the 90s, like not everyone knew that you needed to like take estrogen blockers and like all this other shit because it'll fuck you up. Like your body reacts to that. Your body wants to do what your body wants to do, and then you're adding this other thing to it. It starts to, And then somebody also said that with the TRT thing that sometimes it just takes jump starting it. So like you get some testosterone going, and then your body takes over, sort of a thing. Like I think the one guy told me that something happened to him. Like he had I don't know if he got sick or something happened, and the gland that produces that shut down on him, sort of a deal. So like he had to get TRT, but once he got back on it, like his body like picked it back up again and did it just fine. Now, do you find it solved whatever issues you were having?
For the most part,
Yeah.
yeah. I definitely feel a difference.
Yeah.
Now there was no way I could afford that to do, through that guy.
Yeah.
But what he did was the outline that he emailed me said, you take this often, this amount. It had, everything, if he was going to write me a prescription, he
gave you
gave
the
me
recipe. Right. Okay.
that. Well, it's not that hard to find.
oh
believe
no,
it or
no,
not.
no. Right.
So and I'll just put an even number. Let's say $100 on a 10 ml bottle
Okay.
of testosterone.
Yeah.
And if I was going to do one shot a week.
Yeah.
Now for $100 and the price of some needles, which are nothing,
Yeah.
I have 10 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
That's not $300 a month.
Yeah, right.
Now,
Well, you're
could
you're
also-
cutting the middleman out, and probably a middleman that makes tons
Absolutely.
of money. Yeah.
And you could now, obviously, if somebody's mixing some stuff up in a bathtub or something, but that
Yeah.
wasn't that. This wasn't that.
Okay.
You'd be amazed what you could find on the internet.
Oh, really? Just on
Just
straight up on
border
the
out
internet?
Pakistan, and so many countries that steroids are not illegal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Now you gamble if customs is going to catch them or what. There's all kinds of different things.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that I was getting them regularly in the mail.
No,
but
right.
there's avenue. People do that.
Yeah, in a way, economically, a way better avenue than.
Right. So then if you
Still
happen
$200
to know
a
somebody
month,
that
man,
does
adds
that.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and it wasn't, let's say $60. I know there was a time I could get, and especially if I got like 3 of them, $60 a piece.
Okay. Now this is what $60 a piece is.
For a 10 ml bottle
That's but through a doctor.
of no.
Oh, okay, through the internet.
That's tested.
Right.
Well, not internet, just through a guy.
Through a guy, got it. Right,
Now,
right.
that's how he went about it.
And how do you know what you're taking though is something that's not, like you said, mixed up in a bathtub or?
These now, if they were able to make a box, like I mean,
Yeah.
it had hologram label. I mean, it was legit.
Okay.
Like, unless
Sure.
they're just masters at what they did.
Right, right.
I don't know. I've seen made stuff, and it doesn't look like.
Sure.
There's a difference.
Right, right.
Some of them are break-offs. There's individual ones where you snap the top of it's like a little glass thing that's completely sealed, and you got to break it,
Okay.
and then you draw it out of there. I don't know how you make that at home.
Yeah, no, right.
You know what I mean?
And I have very limited. My workout partner was a guy that took steroids, and I never did, but I would see that shit works because I would see
Oh,
the minute
yeah.
he did it. Like we would be lifting and we were like right there with each other, and then all of a sudden he would take off, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Bullshit! Like how could you?" And he's like, "Well, okay." And then I just never had any interest in it to begin with, and it was just never there, sort of thing. But being a guy that's 48 years old and like looking for an extra edge in the gym, I was open to it as far as going to the doc. And I figured I'll go to my urologist, get tested, find out, if anything's anything. And like I said, I think I had to be like, can't remember what the numbers were. I had to be under like 300 and I was like 480 or something. He's like, your testosterone's actually pretty good. And I'm like, all right. And I thought it was going to be more like a situation where I could be like the pot card. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
doc, my eye hurts or, whatever. And get
Now,
my
there's
cup.
places you can do that. For me, it wasn't so. I wasn't looking like my thing wasn't to go. And I worked out. I always loved to pick up. It's been some time, different health issues.
Sure.
I backed off, which kind of is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I wanted to juice up.
Right.
I knew.
I don't think you're not taking enough to do that anyway.
No, I never.
Right.
If I followed that outline
Yeah.
that guy, the doctor emailed me,
Yeah.
that was my intent. Now, like I say, there was no way I could have. I got a family. I'm not paying $300 a month.
No.
My wife would have been like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah. Right.
Now that she reaped the fat benefits when I did. That's a whole other step.
Sure,
That's another
sure.
podcast.
Right.
But
Right. No.
But-
That's something that I think there's a lot of dudes like. So I mean, this podcast is about like quality of life, and if you can't have sex, like I don't even, and that that's maybe part of like the wheelchair podcast thing. Like that's a misconception too. Like I think that I would rather, like sex is fine with a guy in a wheelchair, but if it wasn't, man, I better figure out how to make it somehow, okay, because that's an important thing in my life.
Right.
So like if you have some sort of sexual dysfunction and you're not going to a doctor, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing, because get to a doc and figure this out. And I mean, like the blueprint that you have is not a blueprint that works for everybody. That's a blueprint the doctor made just for you.
Right. I mean, I had blood work. He knew.
Exactly. Right.
I also weight. I mean, there's so many variables.
Sure.
So I followed that. Now, in the beginning, like the part my wife hated the most was I did break out. My back broke out. Like,
Oh yeah, the acne situation. Right.
till I get leveled out, whatever the term, technical term. But
Yeah.
I did so much extensive reading on everything. I joined these forums, and I mean, most of them were just bodybuilder type, but there was also TRT guys.
Oh, YouTube's got a ton of bodybuilders on there talking about
Right.
steroids.
But I wanted to know everything. I mean, I watched you know, probably 40 videos on how and different injection places. How did you know, are you worried about an air bubble? You know, I always heard, oh, if you get air in here, you're going to die. And
right.
all this and that, which isn't 100% accurate at all.
Sure, right.
But
I mean, if you probably put it in a vein.
yes,
Right.
you get an air bubble goes into your heart. So.
Yeah, right.
But, so I followed that. Now, I did it for, I'd say at least 2 years.
Sure.
Life was great. There was a small window, you know, spring, summer was coming up. I was like, I'm going to double up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
and I got to tell you, now, I'm sure it already helped being, you know, there's a reason why you can gain faster muscle when you're 18, 20 than when you're 40.
Yeah.
Or 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
So just getting in your normal levels is going to help you regardless.
Yeah, right.
But now when you get a little bit above, and I can only imagine the amounts I've read that some guys do
Oh, yeah. Like,
are mind blowing.
right. But then you see them, you realize.
But just that little extra that I did for that 6 weeks, it was a definite transformation.
Yeah, right.
And then you go back down, you're like, whoa, hey, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's when you need like the estrogen blockers.
Yeah, and
all
there's
the
a
other
whole
shit.
process to that, you know, PCT, you know, but I didn't just stop. You know what I mean? I stepped down on it. Like I said, I did so much reading on it.
Sure.
But I got in trouble for pop.
Right.
That's why that was the 2-year window.
Yeah.
So when they found that, they also found
The testosterone.
suspected steroids.
Yeah.
Whether or not I had a script, and no, that was never asked. It was never brought up anytime I went to court. It was, a matter of fact, one of the officers was a monster.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure that was a gift for him.
Yeah. The gym that I said that had the needles in the ceiling, there was a dozen cops that worked
This
on
guy I was like, holy cow. I mean, it looked like he had snakes under his skin, let alone more. You know what
Sure,
I mean?
right.
But
Totally on
hey,
steroids, right.
whatever.
Yeah.
After the fact, when everything was cool, and I went to the doctor now, because I got to tell you, that was rough. There was no PCT. I went from here to 0.
Right.
And the shock, and I mean, I was an asshole. I couldn't, I mean, the thing about people being roid rate and steroid, I guess if you do excessive amounts,
Yeah.
but if your testosterone level is low, you're going to be an asshole too.
Sure,
Which
sure.
I never realized either.
Aren't you a bitch then, though?
I guess, yeah.
Right.
That's probably a good way to put it.
Right.
So you could, it sucked.
Yeah.
When I went to the doctor, I talked to her. Now, she said I had to go for 3 different blood tests because she didn't believe me. The results, you're supposed to go in the morning and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other thing because I work nights. So I tried to explain to her that my morning is completely different.
Yeah, sure.
Well, she couldn't comprehend that. So I still had to go at 9 in the morning, even though I'd been up since 1:30 the day before.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever. But they were so low and off the charts that she didn't believe me. So finally, after the 3rd one,
They took the blood in the office, though. So
yeah, I went.
it's not to believe you.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like
right.
they sent you. It's not like I brought you a piece of paper with a result on it.
Right.
You must not have went the right time. I'm like, look at the clock.
Yeah.
But okay, finally. Now I explained to her how I had been on it and stopped.
Yeah.
So what confused me is you're a doctor.
You should understand that my body's
How do you not
producing
know
it.
that it was shut down?
Yes,
Like you
right,
should have expected that.
Right.
And that's a whole nother, because when I told her I wanted the injections and not the gel, because I know people that had gel and their wife, you know, it affected her.
Yeah, right.
Her testosterone levels went up.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that was a huge thing. Like I do it in the morning, right? I make sure my wife doesn't get contact.
Yeah, right.
But she refused, and it's the same thing, and we went back and forth. And
Yeah.
I asked her, I said, you can't understand. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, you telling me how I would feel on my testosterone levels, in my mind, is like me explaining to you what a period feels like.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a female.
No, sure.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So how can you tell me the difference on testosterone? I've had gel before. Like I know the difference.
Sure.
It's also easy. You're never going to squeeze the same pump exactly the same twice. If it's 2 pumps a day on your arm,
Yeah.
you know, there's so many variables on how it's going
Sure,
to
how
absorb.
it's absorbed,
You're
right.
still getting some, but
Yeah.
there's still a very, you know, if you draw 0.5 or whatever on the, you inject that
Yeah,
on,
that's what it is.
on Friday every,
Right.
it is what it is.
Now, how don't guys abuse that on there? If you're getting the gel on your own, I don't know why guys just don't take more than they're supposed to. Like put more. Like you're saying, a pump could be. Well, I just hit 3 pumps instead of 2.
Well, you have to do that daily.
Yeah.
Now, you could I can definitely feel a little surge, a slight surge
Okay.
when I have my gel,
Yeah.
and then by the end of the day or whatever.
Right.
Where if you do your weekly, bi-weekly, whatever your schedule is,
Sure.
you stay consistent. There's not this roller coaster.
Yeah. Right.
It's more of a straight line. You might have, it might tailor slowly down by the end of it.
Sure.
And then let's say Monday's your day. So by Sunday, you're like, but slightly. And it's not enough but there's going to be a decrease.
Sure.
And then you go back, and then, so it's a real gradual. It's
Right.
not a flat
See,
line.
mine must not go up and down that much anyway because I'm not taking anything. But like I always heard that your testosterone level is higher in the morning than it is in
That's
the
why
evening.
you wake up with wood.
Right. So I would always try and like get up and then go right to the gym, get my workout done at 6 a.m. versus, being there at 9 o'clock at night. So you get more out of your workout, I think.
In theory, it should be the way.
Right. So, but I don't ever notice any difference. Like I've definitely had a workout at, 7 a.m. and had a workout at 7 p.m. And it's the exact same workout. Like it must not vary enough.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, your levels are going to be your levels. If there's
Right.
a slight spike in the morning.
Right.
My other question for her is, why do you want to test it at its highest? Why wouldn't you want to know at the lowest?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
like again, I don't have a degree. But
Sure. Well, that's what I had to do when I went in for
It
the
seems-
urologist. I had to be there at 7 a.m. and I was there at 7 a.m. and they took blood and everything else. And and I don't know I'd like to know what the variation is. If I was like at 480 or whatever I was in the morning, what am I at 9 o'clock at night? Am I under 300? Like, sort of thing. Because anything that makes quality of life better, I'm totally down for. So if the TRT thing, I guess my issue at all, I always stayed away from it too because you are playing with your physiology, right? Like the guys who abuse steroids, if they don't know what they're doing and they come off, you can
You're done,
you can
yeah.
grow tits. Like the whole estrogen.
There's
thing.
a whole
Right. So, I was always concerned about I always felt like I generally had more testosterone than most guys to begin with. So I'm like, I'm not going to fuck that up. Like I've been dealt a good deal as it is. I don't want to jack this up. But then I would see the results that some of these other guys were getting. And I was like, man, like I got to flirt with a little or something. I never did. But, and I mean, another stigma thing that I wish that people would get past those stigma thing with most shit. If it helps you, then I don't give a shit. Like,
Exactly, and that's kind of how we went from pot to this.
yeah, right,
To me, it's the same stigma.
right.
That I cannot fathom why you do not want your professional athletes to
Oh, I think,
either
honestly,
steroids,
I think that,
growth, if not steroids, growth hormone.
I think that in professional
The healing
athletes, I think it should
properties.
be I think it should be regulated, and then you should have it with, we've got this, and the podcast go everywhere, so I don't care where it goes, but you've got this weird like transgender thing going on too now, right? Where you got athletes that are transitioning from a female to a male, and they're taking testosterone, and then obviously their performance is more. And then you've got athletes that are transitioning from male to female. They've had the benefit of 30 years of testosterone, and now all of a sudden they're taking estrogen or whatever to try and,
Right.
but they've got the bone structure of a man and
Right,
the
you're
muscles of a man.
still-
It's not fair. But I think in sports, hopefully we get to a place someday where they're testing and they're like, all right, you got to be within this parameter here to compete, because everybody's an outlier. Like there's all kinds of outliers, right? There's like, I'm positive that Mike Tyson had more testosterone than, some guy who's not a,
Right.
killer
Oh, yeah.
sort of thing. He just naturally had the level of testosterone. So, but if you equalized everyone out, it would be legitimately just how hard did you train, how smart are you, How hard did you work to perform at this level? Your chemistry is the same as the guy next to you. Now go compete.
Right.
You're still gonna have a winner and a loser.
Exactly.
So
We pay a lot of money to watch sports, especially if
Absolutely.
you go to one.
right,
Merchandise, I mean, everything involved. These guys are making millions.
right.
Why do you not want them on the field? If there's
the
an
weird thing about
injury,
steroids too is people don't realize it's all about healing. Like
Right.
that's what it does.
Exactly.
It makes you recover faster. Right.
exactly.
And I heard HGH. There was a kid wrestler that he was having growth problems where he wasn't growing, so he was going to be like 85-pound freshman in high school. He wouldn't have been able to wrestle on a 106-pound weight class till he was a senior in high school. So in like 7th grade, his parents started getting him HGH treatments, and he was growing. And the coaches were like, "Yeah, it's good that he's growing and everything else, but it's an unfair advantage because this kid's not even a hard worker in the room. He's never tired. He's got a motor that goes forever." And when they thought it was because of the HGH, like he would just recover faster than anyone else.
I'm still taking the same testosterone not the injection
Yeah.
that I was doing when I was going to the gym.
Yeah,
Do I look like I've ever seen a gym right now? No.
No, right.
You have to put in the work.
put in the work for sure. Right.
Does it help you recover?
Put in
Absolutely.
the work, right.
But there's nothing I can just take and in a month I'm suddenly going to have,
Right,
the world makes millions and billions of dollars on selling you that thought.
sure. But the
Fat loss in a bottle.
the TRT, when people do it and they don't work out, it still ups their metabolism where they lose a little bit of weight, they feel
Yeah.
a little more energetic.
It does improve your quality of life, but
Right.
athletic performance is what I'm saying.
Right. You're still gonna
You
work.
got it. The weight's not going to suddenly be
No, right.
lighter to me because
Sure.
I rubbed some gel on my arm.
But and that is the myth. That's what people think, that if you take steroids, that you're gonna, like this guy that I lifted with, he didn't take steroids in the very next day. He took steroids and his work that he would put in, he got more results from the work.
Right. He
than
was
I
able to
did.
work more.
Yes, right.
Recovery.
Right. Right.
You don't grow in the gym, you grow when you sleep. You
Right.
feed, you sleep, your body grows.
Right.
Well, that's going to help you repair. That's the whole.
Exactly.
So that you're able
if
to
a
get
pro
back
football
at it, too.
player, there's a huge advantage. And I think they turn a blind eye in the NFL as to what those guys are doing. Because there's guys out there, 385-pound men, that there's no
Running
way
a 4.5.
Right. You're not getting that kind of size and strength without some help. But it's entertainment for us, so I don't give a shit. If that's the choice that you make to do that, then you do that. That's fine.
And in the same hand, if that same athlete has social disorder of any type and calming down after a game or whatever it is,
Yeah.
with a little bit of pot,
Yep, I agree. I agree.
there's nothing. I promise you that them smoking pot is not going to help them suddenly tackle you the next day.
Well, and it's probably gonna not have him beat his wife, and it's not. So, like, when I see women that have this stigma, I think they need to think about it the other way. The most dangerous thing on the planet to a woman is a man. Like, that's statistically, that's what they die from. Is some dude either hurting them or something happens. Dudes are dangerous to women. If he's on pot, he's probably less dangerous to you than he is
Absolutely.
if he's not. It's finding, I guess, a functional guy that's on pot. So, a guy that can do that to take the edge off, and then also, men and women are different in the aspect of, I've seen women have a temper, situation where they're pissed off and they lose it, but I've seen men lose it. It's way, literally throwing tables across the room and everything's, I have never seen a woman do that sort of
Right.
thing. So you've got this testosterone. I think that there is a balance. I wish healthcare didn't cost as much as it does, because it would be terrific to find out if, without spending $8,000 a month, if a certain amount of pot, a certain amount of HGH, and a certain amount of testosterone made you feel a whole lot better, live a whole lot healthier, and maybe it helps you get out and do those stairs or do the miles that you will need to do and everything else, because your levels are correct. And then I don't know where the levels get out of whack from. Do they get out of whack from all the shit food that we eat?
Oh,
And
I'm
then,
sure.
your body produces testosterone. Then you're eating cows and pigs that are injected with all kinds of hormones and everything else to begin with. Is your body eating that and being like, hey, shut the production down, I've got too much of this or that or whatever. So if these things could fix your quality of life because of the other things that are wrong, I'm all for it. You know what I mean?
Why is it a bad thing? Right.
As long as if it was regulated. The problem that we just covered inadvertently is it could cost you thousands of dollars a month to get it covered by a physician versus $60. What were you saying it was running with the...
Yeah, let's say $60 for 10, that's 10 weeks.
10 weeks. So that's 2.5 months that you got out of $60.
Or
$300 for
right.
a month. Wow. Like that's huge. That's, you know, what's that, $30, like $30 a month, say, even that's higher than, less than $30 a month. So in an entire year, you're $360.
Who can't afford that?
No, right. for better quality of life, for
Right.
sure not. You should be able to afford that. Cut something else. Don't drink coffee. Do whatever you got to do to afford that.
Exactly.
Because it'll make it better.
I could go to work better. I'm more proficient. I mean,
Right.
It does so much for you, which in return, if I don't go to work, that affects my company.
Absolutely.
It affects my family. It affects everything.
Right.
So if there's an avenue to improve that, it's improving more than just myself.
Sure.
And
Now, okay, so spreading that out, like building on that, my issue with the pot thing too is there's some, I don't know if they're avid listeners or whatever that listen to the podcast that are young. They're guys that I've coached. They're guys that are, you know, athletes and stuff like that. And some of them might be smokers. I don't know. I strongly suggest against being 19 years old and being an avid pot smoker. I think that you gotta, from the studies I've seen, you need to wait till your brain is fully developed to be doing this stuff on the regular, because it will fuck you up. It also is not regulated enough for you to understand what you're doing and everything else. I mean, some of the decisions I made when I was 19, I would surely not make it 48 years old.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm not encouraging anyone that's under 23, 24 years old to partake. But I definitely know people that are in their 30s and 40s that I've seen them be offered pot. They look at it like, you know, like it's kryptonite or it's terrible shit. And first off, it's not as bad as you think. Second off, I don't know, dude, you're kind of an asshole. It might be helpful. Like, if you ever look at yourself and you're like, I'm a dick. I always leave somewhere going, man, why did I say that? Maybe one time try, and I'm not saying like get stoned off your ass, but try a little tiny bit and see how your evening goes, because it might go better,
Right.
sort of thing. So,
And just to be clear, when I say that I started at that age, I in no shape or form condone or say that should be the way. Like,
Right.
I would not. I have spent many years involved in youth sports and this and that, and have done nothing but preach the complete opposite.
Right.
Both of my sons, it's never been like, it was hidden
yes,
until
right, sure,
for
sure.
unfortunate reasons it was brought to light.
Right.
That says a lot, that I was 40. Like, you know, kids were upper teenagers.
Right.
Had no idea. So kids aren't dumb. I mean, it's everywhere.
Oh, no,
they know
should
kids
not,
that
should.
do.
Right,
They
right.
still didn't know dad did.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had the edibles of the guy gave me that when I had him here. Like, I immediately told my sons what this is. This is this. I go, first off, I trust you guys, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. But I know what's here, so don't mess with this. But don't, you know, it's not candy, for
Right.
sure.
I had a safe. I still have a safe.
Right.
You lock up a gun, I locked that. There was no access.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because you didn't want there to be
Absolutely not.
that kind of situation.
What I did for me, and my own reasons, and everybody has their own, but that there was no way promoting it to my kids or to any kids or any.
Sure.
You know,
Sure. But
If you're an adult,
Right,
you
so
have
that's where we get
issues, I
screwed
would
up.
suggest it.
Right. But that's where we get screwed up, though, because it's not, I mean, we would never suggest pot for a guy that age. But I just told a story where a guy that was 13 or 14 years old was on HGH.
Right.
So, like, again, I don't see a situation ever where I think the HGH and the testosterone thing is on another level. if a kid has got a situation where he can't grow, then you've got to take him to the doc, and he's got to get something to change that situation because, some gland in his body is not producing what it needs to be producing, and you need to fix that. But there's never a time where I've looked at a 14-year-old and said, you should just be smoking pot. Like, that'd be a
Right.
good idea.
No.
That's where I fall on. I'm not positive that pot is a drug, a medicine, I should say. I know it's a drug. Because I don't think that there's some, I guess I don't thankfully have a experience with a child that has cancer, but I heard it's supposed to soothe like someone who's in chemo's stomach and stuff like that. Maybe if I had that situation, then I would be all for that.
I would
kid
say,
taking it down.
as for that, take a person with epilepsy and seizures.
Yeah, they do
Now, there's-
CBD, right? Not THC.
Well, there's two different, there's some that'll do a certain amount. But I watched a show, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen the video that's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah.
It's an older man. It's an old gentleman
Yeah, I've seen it.
who
too.
would have like
Terrible
astronomical,
Even
and he
the
couldn't even
Parkinson's
talk.
medicine, right? It counteracts.
And
yeah.
within, under 30 seconds of a small hit from a vape pen or a drop under his tongue or whatever, and all of a sudden he's calling.
Yep.
There was a kid that was having, like 100 and something seizures in a day.
Yeah.
And his parents literally had to sneak around to get these droppers
Sure.
to give it to him. But you can't argue.
It's night and day there.
Now
We're totally right.
you're not going to tell me that they haven't been through this prescription and that prescription and this one, and because you're going to do whatever you can to help your child.
Sure.
So the doctors, everybody gave whatever, and nothing. He was still having 150 seizures, and then suddenly with a couple drops or a drop, however many.
The videos are amazing. They are because you'll
You
see
can't
this person
dispute
that's
that.
jacked up completely, and then minutes later they're
Right.
totally fine. And that's another quality of life thing. Absolutely. Now, if you can, a girl that I was dating, she does CBD oil, and she swears by it. Like, she'd have upset stomachs and all this other. She had some lower intestine trouble. The CBD oil was a miracle thing for her. It worked out terrific. Like, she could eat, she could function with the CBD oil. Now, for her, she was totally against like THC, that she didn't want to be high. If that option's there, then I totally see that could be a viable thing to do for a kid. The THC is what seems to jack you up mentally, and I don't know if the kid needs that.
Right, and I'm not sure if it's just the CBD that helps with that, or if it's the combination of both.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Now, I've heard that there's some pot mixtures out there or hybrids or whatever that are heavy in just the CBD with a little bit of THC. And I've heard from people that it's an awesome, mellow, feeling great high. That
Absolutely.
Feel terrific. I had a roll-on. I had a pinched nerve really bad in my neck, and I bought just a CBD roll-on where it was icy hot.
Yeah.
It had CBD in it, and I felt the heat and the way that a Bengay would feel on your body. But I also noticed a mood change a couple maybe a half hour after I'm on there. I'm I feel a little bit happier than I think I should be, being in the pain that I'm in and everything else. So I definitely noticed the CBD.
CBD definitely has anti-inflammatory properties. I mean, that's been proven.
Right.
That's now obviously you're going to get different qualities of CBD if you buy. You're going to get what you pay for, and you got to get the right company and whatever. But it's sad that that's still even frowned on, and you're not going to get high from CBD.
Yeah, well, that's
People
just
still
that I
look
just
at
don't
that,
understand.
right?
Yeah,
But now, if a doctor tells me take 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, but make sure you eat, make sure this is gonna look at the list of the things that can do to you, and just so I guess I'm not inflamed. Naproxen is another anti-inflammatory. It's horrible for you.
Right.
But CBD is gonna do almost the same thing.
Damn plants, right.
Exactly.
Right.
And I dare somebody show me a laundry list of side effects from CBD.
Now, have you been to a distillery since it's been
I have
new?
not.
Now,
I
did you ever
still have
your,
questions.
Did you ever have your card before that or anything?
No.
Like that? I've never had any of that either.
If you plan on, and I know there was a thing I read from the state police about your FOID card, and that they're not, because they're going to scan your driver's license if you go to one of those places.
Yeah, right.
If you
I
have
heard
a,
you're getting like 25% off though because of the taxes you don't spend if you've got a card.
right, but you also can't have a FOID card either. With a
No.
card.
The thing I read from the state police was the opposite.
If you, without the card, from what I understand, is if you have the medical card, then you are not supposed to be able to.
No, I read from the state police that
I thought it was just
Nope.
if you.
I think I posted on social media too. At this point, and they in the article that the state police put out, it kept saying, "At this point."
Right.
At this, so you don't know what they'll change.
And then they also said they have no control over federal. That federally it's still illegal.
Correct, but that's everywhere.
Right.
If you're in Colorado and the FBI pulls you over and you've got a pound of weed or whatever you're allowed to have there in Colorado, you can still get federally charged because it's still on the banned list federally.
Right.
But that's everywhere.
My question is also, and obviously they're supposed to not be able to share your information, but there's a record somewhere, somehow, of when they scan your driver's license.
Yeah.
Now, if my job is still one where it's just zero tolerance, no.
Now,
And something was to
your job, do
happen,
they
if
test
they
them
went to
regular?
court, is that something that they're
Right.
able to say, well, look, he's scanning his, you can't tell me you don't, because why are you going to this dispensary and why?
If there's an incident at your job, don't they, no matter who you are, they take a blood test, right? See if you got alcohol in there, see what you got going on. I know a lot of people that their job doesn't test unless there's an incident. So like,
Yeah.
people that work in a hospital, if something happened and the guy died, then they test the people that were involved in the guy dying just to make sure no one was stoned or drunk or anything
Correct.
like that. But if nothing goes on, if your regular work day happens, they're not just testing you.
No, they have to have a reason to
A
believe.
reason, right. So, and then I don't know about the pot thing. Like they got to figure out a way, obviously, because you can smoke pot on Monday, and then 2 weeks later, it's still in your system,
Right.
but you're not high at all. And if an incident happened then, it shouldn't be blamed on pot. It should be blamed, you're a bonehead. You should have
If I get home at 6 o'clock in the evening and eat half a gummy,
Yeah,
and then go to bed at 9 o'clock and I'm able to sleep, I promise you the next day when I go to work, I'm not
oh,
stoned.
it's stoned. Right.
But
THC
I
still
will
in your
fail.
system.
I will fail the test.
Right. Now, so what do you do for that? Do you take a tea or something like that to try and like cleanse or?
Honestly, what do? I hope for the best. No, I
No
mean,
incidents.
I've
It's gonna be
accepted that there is that
Sure.
possibility.
Yeah.
You weigh the pros and cons.
Well, they need to figure out a way to make because that
Can I afford? The fact that I know I won't be terminated helps. Like there is avenue. Now it isn't a free pass because there's still consequence.
Sure.
But like I say, I never go to work.
Right.
There's no. I've always said I get paid from the neck down. I work in a factory. I'm gonna work. What I do now is a whole lot more mental than I ever thought that I would need.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, maybe a slight. I won't say no way, but I want to be able to make sure I'm getting my work done.
Sure.
Now, I don't want to contradict what I say, as in just that right amount can focus and, and I believe that. I really do. But my job is my job. There's no, to me, there's not a gray area that
Yeah.
you want to take that chance or for any
No,
excuse.
No. God,
You know what I mean?
Right. It's what keeps your family doing what it does and everything. Like that'd be crazy.
Exactly. It's irresponsible.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I'd like people argue, and there's critics that, well, just doing it is irresponsible. I fully believe that there's a responsible.
I don't know if that's the case. I think there's people that probably function in life better. Like if you took them, put them in a place where they had everything in their life, but they couldn't get high every once in a while, they'd probably do a shittier job than if they could.
I know
They
people.
need that like break. It's like a spring break when you're in college. You need to like detach from
Right.
this thing that you're doing and go do something else to function better. And then, like I said, if you're creative, I mean, yeah, there's,
I know people that won't. They probably wouldn't. It'd be hard to get them out of their house.
if they didn't have it.
Yeah,
Right.
there's the social anxiety, the whatever medical term you want to
Sure.
put, that stigma. They're gonna be.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
They're gonna have couch
yeah.
lock.
Right.
They're just, that anxiety is not gonna allow it.
Sure.
And if that can eliminate that anxiety and allow you to go and be a functioning part of society, then rock on.
I think I'm gonna go to a distillery. I don't even know where there's one. Do you know of a distillery?
There's one in Morris. There's one in Joliet.
Dispensary, not distillery.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
I know there's one in Morris and there's one in Joliet. And maybe Country Club Hills or somewhere in that area, I believe.
I want to go just to see what it's like in there, and then I want to go to see what. I heard people complain about the cost already.
Oh yeah, I know. I know people that went,
Yeah.
and sadly enough, they're still going. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to eliminate drug dealers."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. That's not going to happen.
Right,
People are
because the
still
taxes are
because
so
the
much
amount
higher.
of taxes and
Right.
and just the price. There's going to be people.
Well, I found it funny that pot was illegal until they could figure out a way to make revenue out of it for the for the people that were in charge, and then also the biggest proponents against pot were, or the biggest opponents against being there being pot were the people who are now heavily invested in the pot industry. So like your Republicans that were like super Christian, super against pot and everything else, are people that are monetarily. There's the senator, that the guy who cried every time everything happened with him. That it didn't happen bad. Like if he became Speaker of the House, what was that Boehner guy? Yeah. He was staunchly against legalization, and now he's heavily invested in making money in the industry. So right, until they can make a profit, but they do that with everything. The oil companies are heavily against wind and solar, just for long enough for them to get invested into that thing. Now they're for wind and solar. So like, it's all bullshit. Which I always find it funny that like, you made this plant legal, but you made it also that you can't grow it on your own, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Now, if you have a card, you're allowed, I think,
to grow.
Yeah.
I thought you were allowed 5 plants or something like. And I mean, I've seen a marijuana plant. 5 plants is a fucking shit ton of weed. Yeah, you could get a lot of buds off of 5 frickin' plants. But and I don't know what it is. I've never, that's what I think I heard a commercial that said that if you have your card, you can grow 5 plants. But it seems crazy to me that if it's recreationally legal, it's just a monetary thing. Because if it was recreationally legal, everybody should be able to grow whatever the fuck they want to grow. It's a fucking plant.
Right.
And then those dispensaries are going to be out of business because you would just get the seeds and grow that stuff. And I mean, I know guys that years ago, before it was legal, were getting seeds and stuff off the internet.
Right. Well, it's the same reason moonshine. I mean,
the bootleg.
Bootlegging is still illegal. You can't. Alcohol is 100% legal over the age.
Right.
But you can't distill it in your body.
They claim that's the FDA, the regulating that you're not selling someone paint thinner.
No, it's money. How do you regulate the taxes? They want their money.
That's why hookers aren't legal. It's
exactly.
Because they're that to me is one of those things that like I think it would solve some problems if prostitution was completely legal and regulated. So you knew the woman that was never going to be a guy, so I'm not going to get crazy on that. But the woman that's going to show up is clean. You're not going to catch the clap from her or something like that. There's a lot of dudes out there that would probably cause less trouble if they could just on a regular get laid, sort of situation. And if this woman could make more from having sex on the regular with clients than she could flipping burgers at the burger joint, then I don't see the problem in that job. I know it's a job that obviously there's no you're not going to be a 70-year-old sex worker like that.
Right.
But you shouldn't be a 70-year-old flipping burgers either. You should plan better. But that is a victimless crime in my mind, and I don't understand why that's not. I mean, Women should not want that to happen because then the power is taken completely away.
Right.
You're going to cut me off. All right, I'll just go, take care of it this way. I mean, I've had plenty of girlfriends that were far more expensive than having sex with and I mean, don't get me wrong, I got sons. I've never paid for sex in my life, and I don't understand it. Like, because I've had sex with women that I was involved with that I liked very much, there's another thing that's going on there that's more rewarding than just having sex.
Absolutely.
So, but I think that there's guys out there that are socially awkward. I think that there's guys out there that, I mean, there were guys that I grew up with. The one guy's like good looking dude. We used to like laugh because like women would talk to him. He could not get through 20 minutes of talking to a woman without just grabbing her tit or doing something completely fucking out of bounds. Get slapped. And I'm like, holy shit. And the guy got married and everything. But for people that are that way, if it again, quality of life. If it makes your life better, then do it, man. Whatever you're gonna figure it out.
It's okay for somebody to change their gender, their sexual, all of these things, because that's what makes them happy. That's their quality of life.
Yeah.
We've literally restructured society.
Right. Now, I'll tell you this: the stigma thing.
But not for pop.
Right, which doesn't make any sense. I was around you 7 or 8 times. I would have never known that you were an avid smoker or a pot user if someone didn't tell me. So like this stigma thing of like this dude that's like totally stoned, that's bullshit. Like that's not, there are all kinds of people that I run across that I would not in a million years think that they were regular users, and they absolutely.
And all of those times I could pretty much guarantee I was when I got here today.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I wasn't stoned, but
Yeah, sure.
this is my first pod. This isn't something I do.
Yeah.
I've already said I have a certain degree of social anxiety.
Right.
So,
Right. Nobody would have guessed it at all until you said it. Now there are people that I know that I'm like, oh, dude, you're you're totally on pot all the time. Look at you. You look like Jesus Christ. You're like, the beard's down here, the hair's all over the place. So I get it, but that's not. I think that's the outlier. I don't think that's the normal thing. It's surprising to me to find out how many people are that partake in that, and also it surprises me to see people that were again against it. And then when it became legal in Colorado, I knew people that were like, we're going to go to Colorado. They're going to get it. They're going to get a briefcase full of it, bring it back here and sell it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you were against it, but you're going to make a profit from it.
right.
Like
Some of the most successful people that I know smoke pot.
are regular smokers, right? So that, I would suggest, I'm a big proponent of going out and doing, like, experiencing shit. So there's a couple of things that I've never done, what is it, DMT, and like, there's like, I've never done like peyote or anything like that.
Maybe.
But I'd be, if someone had a way for me to do it and I knew it was going to be safe and I was going to experience some other, like, step outside myself, so I'm down for that. You only live, I only get one spin on this fucking whole earth thing that we're doing. So let me, as long as I'm not going to have an effect, like they used to try and freak us out when we were kids, like that reefer madness nonsense where it was like, you smoked pot once and he just kept eating his shoe.
Yeah,
like,
or the gateway drug, because
she did acid once and now she's like,
I should be a cracked head, meth, heroin addict, and I dead by now because I started smoking when I was in grade school.
The story I always heard was there was a concert pianist who was in a hospital. She did acid once, had a bad trip, and all she could do was sit there and drool, and then when they put her in front of a piano, she could play it beautifully, which is a bullshit folklore, urban legend nonsense.
No.
So
I have no desire for cocaine, meth.
No.
Like, to be honest with you, some of that stuff, just the thought of it scares me to an extent. Like,
now I've
for
done
one, the
cocaine,
idea of the addiction is part of it. Like, I don't want to be that. I've seen the destruction with some people and how it just adversely affected. And I don't do anything to adversely affect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my mind, I truly believe that the pot for me is a way to cope, for lack of a better, like we said, quality of life.
Sure.
I'm not a big drinker.
I've
one of
never
those
had
guys that
sex on pot. So, but I heard that's right. I hear it's weird. So I honestly,
and there's also different kinds too, because I haven't had pot where like you don't even want to have sex.
No, right.
But then there's that stuff where I find myself rubbing on my head and I'm like, oh yeah,
right.
we got to
right.
fuck.
I'll tell you what though, it's definitely made food better.
Oh yeah.
Like I've definitely had like a couple of pot. I'm like, man, this freaking enchiladas is and it's not. It's the fact that I'm just tasting it more and everything else. I definitely think that I would be a guy that when I retired, or if there was if I was on a vacation or something where I knew I was on my own time. My problem always is work, and then I coach. Like I've never learned how to be a functional guy that's on pot. But I definitely think that if I found oh my God, I don't know how it is for a woman either. Like I need to have a woman on that like smokes pot and has sex. If sex is, first off, for me, never had sex on pot or any drug. Sex is awesome to begin with.
Right.
If it made it better, if it legitimately made it better, then I've got to try that. Like that's got to happen.
There is a product called Foria. It's basically a lubricant, a sexual lubricant with THC in it.
THC, okay.
And a woman made it, Foria, that's what's
okay.
It's made to help women, evidently,
Yeah.
who have a problem having an orgasm.
Okay.
That whatever,
Sure.
I'm not going to pretend to know the dynamics of a woman's orgasm.
Sure.
But whatever it is, there's this product. I remember seeing it and I'm going, okay, I had to know.
Right.
Now, my wife has no problems.
Yeah.
But, like you say, if this could make it better, hey, why not?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
If I could take, whether I needed a Cialis or
Viagra.
yeah, I couldn't even think
Right.
about it.
Sure.
I guess I don't use them very often, do I?
Right.
But now we're going out, I want to be a rock star tonight instead of just, I'm going to the Sybaris, let's say.
Sure.
And I'm going to get my money, like,
Yeah, right.
we want to fuck a thon or we want to, maybe a couple times.
Sure,
and,
sure, right.
this is what we're going there for.
Yeah.
So I can have it or I can have it.
Right.
Why not?
I
So,
don't know.
I would think
if some woman's putting THC in her vagina in a lubricant form, I can't imagine that she's going to get like massively high.
no. But if I would think that it's got to be absorbing,
Yeah, into your blood.
because
For sure.
I know you're supposed to wait a little while and whatnot. So if that's the case, then I'd have to believe that smoking it to an extent would
Just
heighten,
experimenting
if it's
seems
just
like it'd be fun
heightened,
anyway.
Right. I mean,
if it doesn't work out, then
Exactly.
we still had sex. That's still fun.
chapter 2, I'll come back with some info for you. See what
Right. Yeah. So I mean, again, what was that? There was John Riley did a movie where he was like it was a spoof on all the music ones, like the Johnny Cash one and stuff. It was Dewey Long or something like that, and his brother cuts him in half with a machete, and there's a bunch of guys smoking pot, and he's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's probably really expensive." And he's like, no, it's actually pretty cheap. And he's like, "Oh, it makes you so you can't have sex." He goes, "No, it actually makes sex better." You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there was all these benefits to smoking pot, sort of a thing, that make it for me, it seems like such a different drug than any of the other drugs. Like, and I don't know what's true about drugs either, because we were told when we were kids that if you did cocaine once, you'd be addicted for life. That's not true. I know plenty of people that tried
Right.
cocaine and never went back. Where, like, in marijuana, you're not going to get addicted to. The Reefer Madness thing was like crazy, right? Like, I mean, you were going to eat your own feet and everything else. Like, everything was going to be crazy, and none of that's true. So, like, I don't know what's true. I still hear it about heroin and about like meth and everything else. Like, you do it once and you're fucked. Like, it's still. I don't know if that's true. I have no desire to ever do meth. I mean, if there's any chance I'll be on my roof vacuuming it, then I don't need that in my life. And then heroin, from what I've seen of that, I have no interest in it either because it looks like you just go to sleep and you just, I think they do that just to feel normal because they're already addicted to it or whatever like that. But pot, on the other hand, if I've retired or whatever, I'm sitting somewhere with someone, we're eating, and the food tastes better, sex is better. I don't know. I don't understand how something like that. I think it's got to be years and years and years of somebody saying it's something that it's not to create this stigma.
Yeah,
because
that's what you've been taught.
Right.
I mean, from the time Nancy Reagan was frying an egg and telling you this was your brain.
Yeah, your brain on your brain.
When the DARE officers would come into school when I was a kid,
Sure.
talk about it, and then ask you, hey, have you ever smelled this in your house?
Right. It should be classified differently is the problem, right? Like they should separate. I agree that, you're like, I've seen people on cocaine that I'm like, oh, dude, you got to shut the fuck up. Like, you're a pain in the ass. Like, this is the whole thing. But I've never been around, maybe you have. I've never been around someone that was high and I've been like, I got to get away from this guy. Like, he's driving me fucking nuts because he's so high. I've seen guys that were like so high that they couldn't. I mean, we had a party the one time and a girl did the thing with the brownie. She ate it. And then 45 minutes she didn't feel anything. So she ate a whole nother brownie. And an hour after that, she was like just sitting there, and she would just start talking about a conversation we were having a half hour before. Like, she was too stoned. But still, really, it was just funny and not a big deal. But like, she didn't cause any trouble.
Why is that different than if I had, let's say, 2 Jack and Cokes or a fifth of Jack? Obviously,
why it is,
how 2 Jack and Cokes affected me is entirely different than a fifth of Jacks.
Sure. I had the podcast with Mary Beth on it, and she was against it being legalized. She thought it was a bad idea. She was worried about people driving on it and everything else. And I found myself in that podcast thinking, I'm almost going to talk this girl into trying marijuana because she had never done it either. Like, I think that I'd have a different feeling about what she had to say and I mean, I respected what she had to say. Everyone's got their opinion, and that's fine. But if she had done it for a bunch of years and then decided that it was a bad thing, that'd be different than I've never.
She had an educated.
Right. She never tried it once. She was working purely on the stigma of what she thought it would be, sort of a thing. And I said, you know what? I want to have your opinion voiced, and then I also want to see how it goes. I'll have her back on, like a year from now, after it's legal. Let's talk again. Let's look at some statistics and see if car wrecks jumped up or if drug abuse jumped up because the gateway drug thing and everything else, which I know people that have been pot smokers that never moved on to anything else. Right.
I'm sitting right here.
Exactly. But well, we should. We're 2 hours into this. Yeah. We should wrap it up. But yeah, I don't know. Like, come back on anytime. We'll talk about. I know you're avid fisherman and stuff too. We'll talk about that kind of stuff too. But I don't get it. I want to go to a dispensary and see what the operation is there. I hope it's not something that's so expensive that you can't even afford to partake, sort of thing, which is stupid. Like, it shouldn't be like that. But I want to see what the system is there. And then, like I said, I've read on the FOID card thing. I got a FOID card. My son's got FOID cards. I don't have a medical marijuana card, but if I was going to be someone who did it, it seems advantageous to get the FOID card, or not the FOID card, the medical marijuana card, because first off, you grow your own. Right. Second off, I don't got to spend 20-25% on taxes that everyone else is spending on it anyway. So, if I was someone who wanted to be a smoker, I would probably get the card. I'm paralyzed my chest down. I'm pretty sure I could roll into anywhere and be like, give me a card. Yeah. And they would just give me it. So, but cool, Matt. Well, I appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate you having me.
No problem. It was fun. But otherwise, yeah, I can't think of anything else that I want to ask right offhand. I want to see how this goes. I would like to see the thing you said with the restaurant. I'd like to see some cafes where it was like, come here, get high.
I got an idea for one, but
right.
Yeah, I want to open a shop called Dope and Donuts. I mean, hey,
right.
Get your dope, eat, and smoke, but
right.
like right now, the problem with that is, like you say, you're supposed to be in the confines of your home. You're not supposed to be in
I
public.
think they don't
and
want you
have-
driving, right? So you
Right.
go
Well,
somewhere. And then,
if, like, you can't walk down the street and smoke.
no,
That's illegal.
right.
So I would think that being in having a restaurant where people are going to come in and do that, and
Yeah.
that at this time is not going to really take off. But
Right.
if they ever get past that point, then I
I
got to
think they got to figure it out. Like, I mean,
Yes.
as a bartender, you've got a certain responsibility not to overserve somebody. If you could somehow regulate what they were taking in,
right.
everyone's just a little bit high here. Should be good. Should be
Worse than
fine.
Amsterdam.
Right, exactly. All right, man, cool. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Oh, geez, I got to do this every single time. If you enjoy the podcast, I'm trying to gauge this thing on subscribers. So I hope that you click on the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on Podbean, on iTunes. We're available also for the audio versions. But let me know that you're out there. And then any way that you can, comment on stuff. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can say you enjoyed it. If you hated it, tell me you hated it. I don't care, but interact with me a little bit on social media. I do this for the entertainment value of it, so I'll work my podcast into more entertaining avenues if somebody's entertained by it. So thanks a lot for listening. Appreciate it.